Today's discussion is actually not for the married people in the room, of which there are few. It's mostly single people in here, and I'm part of that group. So this is for you guys. So I have been a single person all my life, so I feel like I've got a lot of expertise and experience, but I'm not the only one speaking tonight. Mahala and Nick are also going to share some of their insights as well for you guys. We just ask you to listen with your hearts, because this is what God has laid upon our hearts, and we want to share it with you, and we feel like it is, something that will affect you, because right now, that's where you're at. So there are 3 points that I want to share. So if you're taking notes, I've got 3 points, okay, that I'm going to share about singleness and about parts of my life, since I am a single person. All right, point number 1, singleness does not need to mean loneliness, okay? Well, what are you talking about? Single means only one. Well, yes, that's true, but that doesn't mean you have to be lonely, okay? In Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, God said that it is not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper fit for him. Now, usually when we hear this verse, we think of marriage, because it is where God made Eve to be Adam's complementary partner in marriage. But the thing is, we can also think about this in context for all humans. God does not want humans to be alone in who they are. He did not create just one person and say, there we go, we're done. He wanted there to be more humans, and he wanted humans to connect with each other. Okay? So that's a wonderful idea. But if you're single, you feel alone. You don't have that special person in your life, and you just feel like you don't have someone to connect to, but that's not true. Okay? Can you still have meaningful human connection when you're single? You're right, friends. Yes. Okay, God made humans to be social people, and he has given us the gift of friends to help us, or to be around us, to give us those connections. So if you're not dating and you're not married, which a lot of you guys are, some of you might be dating, which is wonderful. Some of you might not be. Some of you might want to be dating. Some of you might want to be married in the future. But you can still have good, godly friendships with people around you. You can have friends with both boys and girls, okay, guys and girls. I don't know how you guys like to be referred to. In fact, God has given me a lot of wonderful times of fellowship with other people in my life, people who are single and people who are married. Now, sometimes you have to be careful with those friendships. You have to put boundaries around them, because we want to make the right choices to keep those friendships protected and safe. In fact, my sister and I have a really good group of friends that we've met at work. There's a good number of single women at our school where we work at, and we've become really close. We've bonded. We on purpose, take time to get together on a weeknight or a weekend night, and we hang out at each other's houses and make really tasty food, and we watch movies, or we just play games, and it's just a really awesome time of fellowship, and we feel really close to each other when we do that. We also talk about our lives and our families. We share ourselves with each other. We even talk about deeper things like our faith and what God is doing in our lives. So you don't have to be married or dating to feel that closeness to another person, okay? It's just a different type of closeness. So you don't have to be lonely just because you're single. In fact, God doesn't want me to wallow and to go, woe is me, because I'm not in a relationship, all right? He wants me to have a relationship with him first. Okay, when you've got God, you're never alone, all right? And then he wants me to connect with other believers, okay, other friends, my own family, all right? Hebrews chapters 10, verses 24 and 25 says, let us consider how to stir up one another with love and good works, not neglecting to meet together as it is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. God doesn't want Christians to live this life alone, okay? He wants us to have meaningful, deep friendships with others that encourage us to walk with him and encourage us to continue to serve him and to love him. And just encourages us because life is hard and we need people to support us. All right, that was point number 1. Point number 2, don't allow jealousy of the dating or married relationships that other people have to turn to bitterness in your life. Some of you guys, this might not affect you that much. You might not really care that other people have a significant other in their life. But some of you, it might be kind of difficult. Okay. Exodus chapter 20, verse 17 says, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife. Okay. Or his male servant, or his female servant, or his ox, or his donkey, or anything that is your neighbor's. Okay. Specific attention, you shall not covet your neighbor's wife. Okay. It doesn't just have to be a wife, ladies, a person's husband. Okay. Or your friend's boyfriend, or your friend's girlfriend. Okay. God doesn't want us to be jealous of those other people because of what they have. Okay. He wants us to be content with what we have in whatever circumstance that we may live in, including being a single person. If you want to be dating or you want to be married one day and that's just not where you're at, God doesn't want us to sit and be jealous of what other people got. Okay. In order to not allow my jealousy of my friends, because it has happened to me, I went through high school, I didn't have a boyfriend. I went through college, I didn't have a boyfriend. I will call you out if you are talking while I am speaking. Do you understand? Okay, you don't need to talk to do that. All right. I didn't have that. And then my friends started getting married and then they started having kids and I'm over here still single. Just me. But I didn't want jealousy to turn into bitterness in my heart because I didn't have what I think I was supposed to have. Okay. Instead, I took time to remember what I have to be thankful for. Okay. I encourage all of you to do this. So it doesn't just have to be jealousy because you're not in a dating relationship or a married relationship. It could just be jealousy because you don't have that really nice car, or you don't have, your family's not the same as somebody else's family. Or, maybe you're not, school doesn't come as easily to you. There's a lot of things we can be jealous about. But if we take time to be thankful and count the wonderful things that God has given us, it actually helps our hearts not jealous. Okay. One of the best ways to combat a complaining spirit is being thankful. I actually teach this to my 3rd graders because we talk about complaining. Now for them, complaining is little things like, like I don't want to eat those vegetables, or I don't want to take out the trash. Mom told me to take out trash, or I don't want to be nice to my brother or sister. And you guys probably still have some of that too going on. I don't always want to be nice to my sister either. But where was I going with this? I got distracted. I have to also remind myself to remember that God didn't necessarily make me for marriage. Okay. He may have not. And that's okay. Just like you guys, not all of you will grow up and get married. Maybe most of you, maybe some of you, maybe none of you, if you all decide to just have a great time being single and honoring the Lord. But God made us so much more than just being in a relationship with another person. Okay, He made us to glorify Him. And He made us to get to know Him in the deepest relationship we can actually have. It's not with another person, it's with God. It's with God. All right. And you don't have to be married to experience the wonderful world that God created and to see all the amazing things that He lets us humans experience. Okay? We don't have to be married to enjoy what God has for us. So sometimes you may find yourself spending too much time on social media looking at what other people have and comparing your life to theirs. And that includes saying, oh, well, they got married, or they're dating. And you might start feeling that jealousy or that, I wish I had that. When you have those moments and you see it happening to you a lot, that's the time to put the phone away and to not feed that jealousy, because that will not just wreck how you feel, it will wreck your relationship with God because you're not finding your contentment in Him. Okay? I need to remember when that happens to me, I remind myself that God's plans are better than my own plan for my life. Okay, they're way better than anything I could come up with. And I can trust him to take care of me and to do what's best for me no matter what. All right. Point number 3, last point. Singleness actually provides opportunities for service where you may not be able to serve if you were married or if you were in a relationship. In 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 32 to 34, Paul is speaking to the early church, and he says, I want you to be free from anxieties. Okay, we don't like the word anxiety. We know that means like worries or cares. Okay, he says that the unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to please the Lord. But the married man is anxious about worldly things, how to please his wife, and his interests are divided. That means that he's not able to focus completely on God. Okay? The unmarried or betrothed woman is anxious about the things of the Lord, how to be holy in body and spirit. But the married woman is anxious about worldly things, how to please her husband. Now, Paul was a single man his entire life, and we know that he spent the majority of his life serving the Lord, traveling to different churches and towns, preaching the gospel, and raising up other people to spread the good news of Jesus. Okay, but he's not saying here that they just shouldn't get married because that just distracts them from serving the Lord. No, he's not saying that. He is saying that there are opportunities available to people who don't have that significant attachment in their lives at that moment. There's opportunities that God provides where you can serve, where the person who's married or the person who's dating or the person who has a family just isn't able to at that time. Okay, God has those opportunities available, and he doesn't want single people to be so worried and focused on the fact they don't have someone that they miss those opportunities that he has provided. So right now, I'm not married. But because I'm not married and because I'm not really in a relationship, I've been able to do a lot of cool things for God that I probably wouldn't have been able to, or I wouldn't have felt like doing if I was in a relationship. For one thing, I probably wouldn't be able to be at youth group with you guys. I wouldn't be able to help make all the tasty food that you guys get to eat. Now, I don't make all the food. Wonderful people in the back, thank you for making awesome food too. And yes, be very thankful for those people. I also been able to go on the mission trip a couple summers ago when we went to Texas. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I was in a relationship. And I also got to serve at BBS this year. And now you can do those things if you are married. It just might be harder. Okay, so next time you're wondering, wait, why am I single and everybody else is with somebody? Maybe God has a special plan for you at that time. Maybe there's a reason that he's keeping you single because he wants you to do something for his kingdom. All right. So to sum up, I can trust that God's plan for my life and his plan for your lives is a complete and full and wonderful plan. It's not less than those of people who are married or dating. And he also doesn't want me to live my life saying questions like, what if, or when will? Okay, God wants me to live a life that says, what does God have for me right now, right where I'm at? All right, so that was mine, and now it's Mahala. Thank you for listening. You guys were a good audience.
Yes, Christine, that was awesome. All right, hi guys. I don't usually get to talk. I'm usually singing. I'm so excited for this. All right. So question for you guys. Hello? There we go. Who in here has ever watched a rom-com before? Anybody? A romantic comedy, like a romance movie. Okay. If you've seen a rom-com in here, I guarantee you have heard these phrases. If you haven't seen a rom-com in here, I also still guarantee that you have heard these phrases. So if I'm going to say a phrase, and if you've heard it, raise your hand, okay? You complete me. All right. Have you ever heard, hands down, have you ever heard somebody say, you make me whole? All right. So we've all heard it in this building. And it's usually referring to a significant other or a family member or somebody like that. But often I think in our world, we can hear it in other concepts. We live in such a consumer mindset world that we think, oh, if I just have that one thing, I'm going to be like complete. My whole life's going to be perfect. We've all done it. It can be a relationship. It can be if I have that phone, if I have that piece of clothing, if I have that friendship, if I have that many followers, whatever it may be. That's just the mindset that we live in this world. Consumer mindset, and it's over lacking something, and we need it. And tonight I'm going to, like Christine was saying, talk about how in relationship concepts of how we have that lacking in our heart. And I want you guys to know something. That longing in your heart wasn't placed there by accident. It's not just something that you're like, oh, I'm all alone. I'm the only person who wants this. I promise you, every person in this room has a longing in their heart. Whatever it may be, every person in it. So don't isolate yourself. And that longing in your heart was placed there by someone and for some reason. And that someone is Jesus Christ. And that reason is because he created you, and he created you with a longing in your heart because he wants to be the one to fulfill it. He doesn't want your Instagram to fulfill it. He doesn't want that guy named Joe to fulfill it, or the girl named Sally. Those are the first names I get of. He doesn't want them to fulfill it. But that longing in your heart, that place in your heart was filled up by him. And it sounds really cheesy, but I had a youth pastor who said this to me, and I've always remembered it. He said that we have a cross-shaped hole in our heart. It's just like those kids' toys where they have like the little shaped things, and you see like the baby trying to like jam the square into the hole. Anybody seen that? I've seen that. We do that in our lives. We tried to jam a square-shaped, a cross-shaped hole. And so just want you guys to know that. And the world mindset is that money and status are going to fulfill that. A relationship is going to fulfill that. I had that mindset my entire life. I thought this relationship, I don't know what's going on with the mic. All my friends have this relationship, and I want that. If I can just have that, everything will be great. And now, even though I'm talking about singleness, I'm not single at the moment. Don't boo me, I promise. I've been for 22 years, so I feel like I'm still qualified. But at this moment in my life, I'm so grateful. I'm actually engaged. And my fiance, Nevin, and I, we make this joke where we'll say like, oh, you don't complete me. You don't make me whole. And we'll like make all these jokes to each other. And I don't know about you, but I am grateful that I do not complete him, because that is a lot of pressure to put on a person. And he is grateful that he does not complete me, because that is a lot of pressure to put on a person. Because the only person who complete you is someone who's perfect. And the only perfect person that I know and that anybody knows really is Jesus Christ himself. And so, one, do yourself a favor and don't put that pressure on yourself or anybody else to complete somebody, because at the end of the day, you can't do it. And that's not to say that you're a horrible person, who we were designed to be. It was designed for him to be the person in our life. And so if you guys want to flip with me to Colossians 2, verse 9 through 10, see if I can get there. All right, it says, "For in Christ lives all the fullness of God in a human body. So you also are complete through your union with Christ, who is the head over every ruler and authority." So right there, it says complete through your union with Christ. I'm going to keep hammering that nail into the wood. Complete through your union with Christ. And how many people in here have like a timeline of when they want to be married? Anybody? It's okay. You just have like, oh, like at this age, I would love to be married. At this age, I would love to have kids. At this age, it just keeps going. Everybody makes a timeline. I made it. It didn't happen, but here. But here's what I want you guys to know. Finding completeness in God leads to completely trusting him. Whether that be with your timing, with who your relationship is, when your relationship, pressures of the world. When you have completeness with God, his timing becomes your timing. And I heard it said one time that when you completely trust God, his timing becomes your timing, and that pressure to be in a relationship isn't there because you are complete. So the pressure of all of your friends around you being in a relationship and you being the only person on the background, you don't feel that anymore, because you don't feel the pressure of, oh, if I have this, I'll be accepted. Oh, if I have this, I'll be complete. Because you know what? I got Jesus in my back pocket. I am chilling. I don't really want to date these people. Whenever they come, they come. And so another Bible verse, Psalm 34. Sorry, guys, I'm going really fast. Psalm 34, 8 through 10. It's speed Bible flipping. Here we go. All right, it says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. O fear the Lord, you his saints. For those who fear him have no lack. The young lion suffers want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing." I have some friends of mine from back in college. They do a podcast now. And I was listening to one of their podcasts, and one of them said, "God is every longing fulfilled. He's the only one that can satisfy." He is every longing fulfilled. He is the only one that can satisfy. And in that verse right there, it says that with him, you will lack no good thing. And so with Jesus, if, like Christine was saying, if that's a plan that he has in your life for you to be in a relationship, you are not going to lack that. He's not going to hold anything from you. And if that's not what you have, then he's going to give you something else that you might not even understand how amazing it is for your life in this moment. But it says right there that you are not going to lack any good thing because he loves, he cares for you. And he's not up there like, oh, I'm just going to kind of tempt this one girl and I'll give this other one. And that he truly doesn't want that. He cares for all of you. And so, as I'm wrapping up real quick, I just want you guys to know that completeness and contentment has nothing to do with your external situation. So me being complete and me being content has nothing to do with how school was today, how work was today, whether I'm in a relationship, if I am in a relationship, how that person treats me, how my family treats me. It has nothing to do with my status. It has nothing to do with anything like that, but it has everything to do with my internal world and my internal situation. Me being complete is not defined by the external things, but by internal things and by who the Lord says I am, who I wake up in the morning believing who I am, who I pray to, who I speak to, how I think about myself. All of that decides if I'm complete and if I'm content. And so as we're walking out of here today, I want you guys to walk out with this mindset of, if I don't have it, I don't need it. And that doesn't mean that if you don't have it, you don't need it ever. Like, I'm not saying if you don't have a relationship right now that you're never going to have a relationship, because that's not true for a lot of people. That may be true for some. But like I said, God has so many plans that I can't even begin to understand. But in this moment right now, Psalm 34, 8 through 10 says that you are lacking no good thing. So that if you do not have it right now in your life, I guarantee you that there is a good reason for that and that you probably don't need it. If I would have started dating or been in a relationship when I was 16, when I wanted to be, it would not have worked out because I was not in that mindset. I didn't truly comprehend, guys, that I was complete in the Lord until about a year this time last year. And when I finally comprehended that, finally realized that the Lord completes me and not some guy or some status or anything like that, then the Lord was like, oh, here, and now this amazing relationship. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen. You might be in a relationship tomorrow. You might not. Don't put that pressure on yourself. But what I am saying is that there's probably a reason you don't have it right now. And if you're having to strive and push for it and struggle, that is not the way of the Lord. It is not a life of struggle that he wants for you. It's a life of contentment and completeness and peace that he wants for you. And so that's just what I want to encourage you guys with. I know that was a lot that I just word vomited on you. But when you comprehend this and you truly get this in your heart, it will just change your life, guys. It's completely opposite of what the world's telling you. But when you know that you are complete in him, everything that felt like the world was ending is gone. And you just know that he's everything. So with that, I'm going to pass it to Nick real quick for our last one.
I grabbed the one that hopefully works. So since Christine kind of took my verse, no, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. It's almost 7 o'clock, so it's almost time for us to break down into groups. So, backstory on me, sort of similar to Christine. I've never dated, not in high school, not in college. Looked for it, never got it. God's just not had that in his plan for me yet. So I struggled with that for years. Still struggle with it because I want to have a big family. I want to have I want to have like 4 or 5 kids. I want to have a big house. I want to, all these things that you want. but isn't necessarily what God wants for you in that moment. So God's been sort of hammering on me, hey, sort of what Mahala said. You don't need that. You got me. I fill that hole in you. No one else does. And that's hard for me. It's one of my biggest desires is to be married and have a family. And, God gave me that desire. He gave each and every one of you the healthy desires that you have. The desire to be a great friend, the desire to play a sport that you love, to be in a relationship. All these constructive things come from God. He gave you those talents, those gifts, that drive. And He's not going to give you those if He doesn't have a purpose for it. It might not be the purpose you think it will be. It may be that God throws you a curveball and what you think your path was going to be, all of a sudden, it's not. But it still completely is in God's plan and fills your desires that God gave you. And He gave you those desires knowing what His plan was. 2 Timothy 2:22 says, "So flee youthful passions and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart." A different verse says in 2 Corinthians 6:14, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. For what partnership has righteousness with lawlessness? Or what fellowship has light with darkness?" Now these two go together, even though it's not immediately obvious. Y'all are all pretty much all teenagers. A couple of you aren't quite there yet. And that's youthful passion right there. And that youthful passion can lead to decisions that have ramifications later in life. It could, when it says don't be unequally yoked, you might fall head over heels for someone who, hey, I'm talking about other people. Don't look at, anyway, who, you're like, hey, I really like that person. I like them a lot. And you're going after them, you're pursuing them, but they're not a Christian. But, your heart is saying, I want that, I want that, I want that. But that's not God's plan for you. When you're in that kind of situation, talk to someone. Go to someone who's older than you, who's been in those situations. Don't make a decision that you're going to regret later. I've had the good fortune in my life of having parents I know I could go to for anything. For any question, any problem. So they've been there for me. Find someone who can be there for you whenever you have questions or you need help with something. Someone who will guide you. Friends are great, but they're in the same stage of life you are. So just keep that in mind. Let's break down into small groups and discuss.